Welcome, true readers. This is Michael for Spirit Comics. This is my review of the Invincible Iron Man number 593. The Search for Tony Stark Part 1. I like the cover. Iron Man coming down and smashing the ground and smashing his, what looks like a tombstone, right in half. It's a really eye grabber for me. Now, I will tell you right up front, I have not been reading this comic since I started collecting comics in 2016, when I picked up where I left off, like a few decades earlier. So I found out then, in 2016, Tony Stark was no longer Iron Man. That Riri Williams, some girl, was now Ironheart, replacing him in the comic book. So I did not bother to read the Invincible Iron Man, since Tony Stark was not Iron Man anymore. So there's some elements of this story that you might be able to tell me about that I am frankly confused on. So let's get into the story here. We open up at Stark facility in Dover, New Jersey, the same one we saw in Marvel Legacy #1. There's Tony in a coma, and there's somebody doing narration. Good morning. Tony Stark continues his medically unexplainable, prolonged state of unconsciousness. And who's this? Whoever she is, I think she's cute. He fell in battle. Some secret armor-based experimentation to his biology over the years seems to have saved his life for now, but he remains unresponsive to his environment. He has no brain injury, no increased pressure, no bleeding, no loss of oxygen. But even I, Friday, the artificial intelligence that helps run his every day, do not know what he did to himself or what we can do on our end to help bring him back to consciousness. Okay, so her name's Friday. Now, she's very cute. And this part here where she mentions back to consciousness, that gets a little bit confusing a few bubbles down here. She says, it's very frustrating. In the meantime, Miss Riri Williams has excelled in her new chosen role as Ironheart. We have offered her a home at Stark International, but she has not told us her future plans. Her personality type and some of her bolder choices concern me, but she has remained successful in spite of some calculable odds. Now here's where it's starting to get confusing for me. The artificial intelligence running her armor is the downloaded ID and consciousness of Tony Stark himself. Tony's ego unchecked by a physical body. He has started to show some glitches, but I have my eye on it. Okay, so his consciousness that was in his brain, am I understanding this right, is running the suit? And so that's why he can't be brought back to consciousness, because his own mind is not in his body, and yet it's running the armor for Riri Williams. Am I understanding that correctly or not? Am I off? I'm confused. She says, meanwhile, Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom, the most notorious criminal of the last century, seems to be looking for personal redemption. After a lifetime of atrocities, he's using Tony Stark's Iron Man persona and armor in tribute as his way of doing so. Again, it's all very frustrating, but today is different. Today, and I like this. I like this splash page here. It's of an expo, and we're not told right off the bat who this woman is right here. But there's a picture, life-size picture of the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, I think, and and this woman says, "Hello, people of New York and everyone watching us around the world. Welcome to the annual Tony Stark International Science Expo." Oh, now that's pretty cool. And so we go over here to see who this is. She says, "My name is Amanda Armstrong." Okay, nice to meet you, Amanda. "And I am one of Tony Stark's mothers." Okay, now that is confusing to me. Maybe it's probably because I don't know some of the backstory about Tony Stark. But one of Tony Stark's mothers? I'm confused. As you know, Tony can't be with us today. He's, well, and she grabs her head like I do every now and then when I'm stressed out. And over here is a redhead who says, "Oh no, hold it together." Amanda says, "Hey, so if any of you invented anything that will bring him back to us, then you win the expo." So apparently the expo is just a means of potentially finding some way of bringing Tony Stark back to life. She says, "Being here with you it's so odd. As some of you know, I had just reunited with my son when he was struck down, fighting for what he believed in. I, like you, like everyone, have been reeling, but even a stranger on the street knows how important this expo is to Tony." Then she starts to work the crowd. "So I thought, in his honor, why don't we blow the roof off this place? I hope you brought your best. I hope you brought the thunder and the lightning, because we sure did. Woohoo! Yes, roar!" And she says, so this is usually the part where Tony comes down in his new fancy armor. And though I hoped upon hope that Tony would magically come smashing through something to say hi to you all, in his absence I asked a friend, a new friend, a good friend, to come say hi. Ladies and gentlemen, fresh from just freeing the entire country of Latveria, here she is, Ironheart. I like that picture of Tony Stark there in the background with the shades. That's pretty cool. And here she is inside her suit, saying, "My first applause." And that apparently is the consciousness of Tony Stark, if I'm read the comic right. He says, "Don't let it go to your head, Riri." She says, "Can I at least enjoy the moment?" He says, "Sure. Look what happened to Simon Williams. No relation, right?" I have no idea who Simon Williams is. And then the redhead says, "Go, girl." And this strange fellow here says, "Hello, Mary Jane Watson. Remember me?" Well, I have no idea who you are. And so let's see if we can find out who he is. And she says, "Oh, Mr. Lynch." Well, that's Mr. Lynch. What's he do? "You do remember me, because I am sorry I have not returned your call," she says. "As the chairman of the board of directors, you would think," she says, "yes, this was an undertaking. I've never done anything like this. yeah, how did an ex-supermodel put all this together? And I do like the aerial view here of the different suits. She says, thankfully, Amanda, an ex-rock and roller, knows some people. Plus, I have worked in the fashion and club promotion world for most of my adult life. So, he says, aren't you ladies industrious? And she says, I am also very aware of when I am being condescended to. He says, no, I'm just amazed. Tony clearly hired you for aesthetic purposes, and yet look at you go. She says, I just remembered the real reason I didn't call you back. Enjoy the show, Mr. Lynch. He says, I'd like you to tell Amanda she's done. And Mary Jane says, done? The board is officially taking over Stark International on Monday. Based on what? And Mr. Lynch says, Tony Stark is in a coma. His rock star mommy and his supermodel girlfriend are not going to bleed this place dry one day longer. She says, I haven't taken 1 cent. And then he whispers in her ear, tell it to the investigators. We voted. It's done. Enjoy the show. So she's in shock. And there's a shot of Riri Williams, just working the crowd. And Mary Jane is starting to get a little bit sad, and she's watching Amanda there on stage. She's clapping for Amanda. Then she gets a text. High security text. Stark facility in Dover, New Jersey. Emergency. Code gold. And she says, wait, what happened? And so then we go to a different location. Rikers Island, maximum security penitentiary. And this looks like, almost like Russia, but I'm pretty sure it's not, because it looks so cold. What happened? What do you think happened? He's asking what happened. Exactly, Warden Mosley. What happened exactly is a massive prison break. I think he's specifically without shield here to support us. Our ability to guard the powered prisoners was non-existent. I told anyone who would listen that this could and would happen, but now I have 7 dead men and a broken prison. And this guy says, the Bureau Director has asked for a thorough report. If you need a moment to collect yourself. He says, oh, you want thorough? Well, Dr. Doom, dressed up as Iron Man, and delivered, Dr. Doom dressed up as Iron Man and delivered dozens of alpha-level powered villains to this facility. More than any one superhero has ever done, and apparently more than we could handle. And then that guy says, Dr. Doom dressed up as Iron Man? That's real? The Bureau wasn't sure if it was. He says, I assure you, it's real. And then he says a cuss word or something. I'm not sure what. Okay, now on this next page, what we see is Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom, descending. And I want you to pay attention to this because it gets a little bit confusing, at least for me. This one guard says, holy! I think that's a guard. Yeah, that's a guard. And Doom says there is no cause for alarm. And the other guard is just standing there, shocked as can be. But then I believe that's the warden. He's the one who pulls his gun, where the other two don't. Okay, now that's kind of strange to me, because I would think both guards would pull their guns immediately. And then the warden is here in the middle, I think. And he says, "What are you waiting for? That's Dr. Doom! Shoot him!" And all Doom says is, "Settle down." He doesn't cast any magic. He doesn't say a spell. And we see these three, both guards, and the warden start to hug. Okay, for me, that is confusing a bit. In the next panel, it's almost like the three of them are doing a selfie or something, self-portrait, And the middle one, which I believe is I believe that's the one on the left there. That's now the warden. Yeah, that's the warden. He says, I think I need a hug." And the warden says, "I'll hug you." "I need a hug," he says. "Well, where's my hug?" the other guard says. And it's like they've totally forgotten Dr. Doom altogether, practically, because it's like Dr. Doom is talking to himself, because he says, "There's no need for hostilities." Okay, I don't see any hostilities here, because they're all they're hugging each other. There's no hostilities whatsoever that I can see from those three. "I will do my forensic examination and be on my way," he says. And he says, "Warden Mosley?" "Oh, God. I'm going to need a full list of escapees from your prison." And then off to the side we hear, "Why don't you just pick out a room?" Okay, who said that? And it's Ben Grimm of the Fantastic Four. "You live here now," he says. And I get why I think I get why the background is so foggy, or maybe I don't think this is Russia, but maybe it's like during the morning, because I forget where Rikers is located, really. Honestly, I do. Doom says, "Benjamin, after all you've seen the last few weeks, maybe go with your first instinct and let me be." Now, Doom is saying this to the Thing. Okay, and this is what he says. "My first instinct is to punch your face off your body. So anything that isn't that is me showing incredible restraint." And this is the same man who would say, "It's clobbering time." Doom says, "If S.H.I.E.L.D. is no more, then your job to pursue me for them is no longer." Ben says, "Yeah. It's almost as if with our history, I don't need a damn reason to hunt you down like a dog," because they do have a long history. And then Doom starts to play the victim card. That's what I'll call it. He says in this foggy type prison yard, "The criminals I put in here have escaped. Clearly they will come for me." Victim card. "Clearly my life is in grave danger. So really there is no need for you to morally compromise yourself here." Ben says, "I ain't gonna morally compromise nothing." "Go home, Ben," he says. "You clearly don't get it, so I'm gonna up and give it to you. Ain't no one ever gonna forgive you for all the things you've done." This is Ben Grimm giving his own Superman speech, only it's not encouraging, at least not to Dr. Doom. Superman's speeches, they're encouraging. Ben says, no one. Not me, not the guy next door, not a kitty you saved from a tree. You ain't Iron Man. You know it, and I know it. You're a monster. Now this is interesting. Ben keeps on going, and he's looking straight at Dr. Doom, and you can see his reflection in the mask Doom's wearing, and you can see how close Ben is getting to Dr. Doom. Ben says, there ain't no darn thing. There ain't no damn thing you can do to make people forget what you've done. You got a little lost boy in you, dying to be heard now? Well, boo-hoo. We all do, and mine's buried in concrete. You made all your choices, Vic, your whole life. You know it, too. And even if you could get everyone on the planet to forgive and forget, even if you become the flavor of the month, everyone's favorite, the jerk we need in these crazy times we live in, even if he gets closer, you'll know that you had every chance to be the guy Reed Richards was, and every time you blew it. We can see how closer he's getting to Dr. Doom by his reflection, because that's who you are. You know who you really are. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Doom vanishes. And Ben says, see, that's not what I thought was going to happen. And then the warden and the two guards, which were hugging each other, they stop. And the guard says, oh, excuse me. And the warden there says, yeah, that was weird. And Ben's like, huh? I could not stop myself. It's okay. It wasn't you, the warden says. I couldn't stop. The Bureau trains for mystical interference. I kind of liked it. Well, apparently this guard didn't get the training. I have to call it in, the warden says. For, does anyone still want to hug? The middle one says. And the other guard says, get it together, Gary. So they were victim of a mystical whammy from Dr. Doom. And we didn't even see him perform any magic. Didn't see him cast a spell. So that's kind of confusing to me. Then back at the Stark facility in Dover, New Jersey, we see Amanda, one of Tony Stark's mothers. I still don't get that. Mary Jane, apparently Tony Stark's supermodel girlfriend. Friday, the beautiful artificial intelligence, and Riri Williams. They're all looking at the place where Tony Stark's body was. Amanda says, Mary Jane's like, so, and Friday says, Tony Stark is missing. Who do we call? Riri says. I'm not sure. Friday says, what does the security footage show? Hold on, she says. And, this is the same facility that we saw earlier. Only now, we're seeing more of it. The Avengers, the FBI, he's been kidnapped. Maybe, Friday says. Maybe, Mary Jane remarks. What do you mean you're not sure who we should call? Riri interjects. And this is pretty cool because, it shows all four of these women, well, three women and one artificial intelligence, trying to figure out what in the world happened. Friday, can you hear us? Mary Jane says. Friday says, and I have no idea why she's named Friday. Tony Stark's biology now includes Vavotech implants that I have direct access to, and I have no idea what Vavotech is. In fact, I'm the only one in the world that even knows what they are or how to connect to them. Implant like a child? Like they put in dogs? Mary Jane says. Okay, sure. But now I can't read them, Friday says. And then Riri starts to look rather shocked. Oh! Not detected. Someone shut them down or took them out or, oh no! And Mary Jane says, or, I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe he's gone. Dead gone. I should still be able to read the implants even if his vitals ceased. And I have to agree with Mary Jane. Morbid. Friday says, you brought it up. Okay. Who do we call? The FBI? And Friday says, we are who we would call. We have to call the FBI, Mary Jane says. Actually, I have already alerted his friends. And that means the Avengers. Friday says the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone makes some of this harder and, well, some of this easier. And that's Amanda speaking there it has the gray bar next to the statement. So if he has been kidnapped, exactly, MJ, Tony may be on top of this. Or maybe he's not dead, but he's lying somewhere super close to it. Sorry, Amanda, Riri says. No, you're right, Riri. And if he's in trouble, we need to help him, MJ says. So we see pictures of, all of his friends he's ever fought with in the past. Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, that dude called Nova. I think that's Cyclops right there. That's probably Amadeus Cho. Why would he sneak off and not tell at least one of us he's not dead? Riri says. We assume he has his reasons, Friday says. Name one, Riri says. He doesn't want to. Well, sure, yeah. I'm going to the press, Amanda says. I'd advise against it, Amanda. What if he is in trouble, but a bloody spotlight would? You were an undercover intelligence agent, Amanda. And here's something people always forget. Tony Stark, as the AI was saying, so was Tony. He was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He used to be director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now that I did not know. He knows how to disappear and may have done so for a reason. Now this is Mary Jane over here to the far right, I believe, speaking. How was he capable of standing up and walking out without anyone noticing? Now that's a question I have, and especially since Friday, the artificial intelligence, said he has no consciousness. And Riri below her says he was kidnapped. And then Friday, the very beautiful artificial intelligence, says it's a conundrum. Riri says, not really. I'm searching all local security cameras And local, Friday, Mary Jane says, don't hack people's stuff. We talked about this. I find Mary Jane funny. She's sort of like Superman, she has the moral compass. And, of course, the Friday, the artificial intelligence, words what she's doing in a way that's kind of cute. Friday says, I'm not hacking, I'm peeking. And not to be rude, but you didn't fill my command program, Mary Jane. I'm doing what Tony Stark programmed me to do. Oh, that was kind of harsh. Ooh. And then Amanda says, it's not enough. We should call. Friday says, if the Avengers and his other friends chase down their leads and don't find anything, we could call Victor Von Doom. And there you see Amanda. She says, excuse me? Mary Jane over here to the right says, you want to call Dr. Doom on the phone? Like, seriously. And, this says elsewhere. So, no clue where this is, but it looks like some type of chamber in a very dark laboratory of sorts, you could say. And this door's opening, and someone's getting out. It doesn't seem terribly alert. And it's a man, we can tell. Struggling. Apparently, he doesn't have all his strength. His foot hits the floor, and then he falls. You see. It says tap, but I would think that should say thud. And then he catches and props himself up on the floor. And from a side view, we see that this person is sort of gritting his teeth, and sweat's coming off his body. And he's also bald for some unknown reason. And then we have another look at this individual, and I have no idea who he is. I mean, because does that look like anybody that you guys know? Let me know in the comments. And it appears that he's trying to say something, or like groaning or something. And then he's reaching for the Iron Man outfit, and his finger touches the container, I would say. And next, everything falls out. There's the torso of the suit. Then he puts on the helmet and the armbands, wristbands. He swears because something's not working. And he's dressed as Iron Man, but I'm honestly not sure who this is. And it says to be continued. So my guess, this is Tony Stark. But I am not completely sure. I'm baffled because I just don't know. And it says next issue, Invincible Iron Man 594. Who wears the armor? Because we really don't know. And then there's this short story about Tony Stark here in the back, which I thought was really nice. Tony Stark, billionaire playboy, sort of draws the scenario like not exactly when Iron Man first debuted, but maybe in the 70s type era. Arms manufactured. No, I never knew that about him. He had it all. While overseeing a demonstration of his latest weapons, Stark set off a booby trap. A piece of shrapnel was lodged in his heart, and Tony Stark's life changed forever. Now, he's holding one of the original Iron Man helmets. Taken captive by a ruthless terrorist, Stark was forced to build weapons in exchange for his life. Instead, Tony built a suit of armor, a suit that would keep him alive and allow him to escape. He became the Invincible Iron Man. Down here it says, seeing firsthand the devastation his weapons caused, Stark set out to save the world he had put in harm's way. Then we see this. Riri Williams, teenage prodigy, MIT genius. Like Tony Stark before her, Riri used her advanced intellect to build her own armor. With this suit, a new hero was born. That looks like, sort of like horns there to make it. I did not read The Invincible Iron Man when she took over. I didn't, so this is like me catching up. And it says here, Tony created an artificial intelligence that looks, sounds, and is almost as smart as he is. This AI assists Riri as she continues her journey as Ironheart. Robbie Thompson, writer. Valero, I can't pronounce the last name, artist. Frank De Amarte, color artist. VC's Clayton Kalos, letterer. Kathleen Waseski, assistant editor, and Darren Shun, editor. And I apologize, I probably got those names wrong. But this doesn't make sense to me. Up here it says, Tony created an artificial intelligence that looks, sounds, and is almost as smart as he is for her suit. But at the beginning of the book, the artificial intelligence named Friday said that Tony Stark's ID and his consciousness were downloaded into the suit, so I'm confused. But overall, it was a good story. Albeit, even though I was confused. And that's the end of this story. So, I do look forward to the next installment of the search for Tony Stark. So hopefully maybe some stuff will be explained that I just don't understand. Please subscribe to my channel, Spirit Comics. Smash that bell so you'll be notified of new uploads. Also, like the video and share it with others so they can know about this channel too, where I offer commentary and also comic book reviews. I try to upload as often as possible. I'm Michael for Spirit Comics. True readers, till next time.